Okay, so I'm going to try this again. Mindfulness. Tried going live with it, didn't quite work, so we're going to do a short video instead. So, what is mindfulness? Well, you have three states of mind. You have a reasonable mind, you have a wise mind, and you have an emotional mind. So, if you draw two circles right next to each other, you have that little bit that interacts between the two. That's your wise mind. On one side, reasonable, the other side, emotional. Emotional, um, you think and behavior are controlled by your emotions. What's currently going on? Your emotions, if they're running wild, you're running wild because you don't know how to control it. Um, your cognitions are hot, so everything feels like it's right then. It's right then and there. It has to happen, and it's not good on you. Um, Facts are amplified or distorted to be congruent with the current emotional state. Someone is not calling you. They must hate me. I did something wrong. I'm a horrible person. That is an emotional mind. We're trying to get away from the emotional mind. But you can't get rid of emotional mind because emotional mind's always there. And you also can't get rid of the reasonable mind, which is approaching knowledge intellectually. So you using your head instead of your heart. So this is how I think about it. Reasonable mind is your head. Emotional mind is your heart. So reasonable mind, your attention is focused. You know the facts. You know what's going on. You're thinking very rationally and logically. So 2 plus 2 equals 4. It is 78 degrees outside. Um, you're planful in behavior, so you plan ahead. Um, Spock from Star Trek, a good thing way to think about it. He's always in reasonable. Everything makes sense. Everything is very logical. A equals B equals C, or A plus B equals C. Um, but we want to kind of combine the two. So you have your rational mind, you have your emotional mind. We want to make your wise mind. So you want to be more peaceful, more centered, more kind of intuition based in some aspects. Um, you want to integrate the knowledge of all ways of knowing. Integrate emotional and reasonable, and using them together. So you create emotions with reasonableness. You must go within and integrate these two because he didn't call last night. Common something a girl will say about a guy who she's dating. Well, why didn't he call? Well, it was me. That's emotional. He didn't call last night because he fell asleep. That's reasonable. So you want to kind of integrate the two to where you're not always thinking the worst. You kind of want things to go a little bit smoother. Some things you can do is you can observe. Just notice the experience. Don't dive headfirst into it. No, just notice the experience. You're not getting caught up in the experience. You are not reacting to the experience. You're just acknowledging it. Best way to put this is like a Teflon, like a Teflon skillet. You can put anything in it and it slides right off it. Or another thing, oil. Oil doesn't stick. You put oil on something, it's going to slide right off of it. So you want to kind of let the experience happen. You want to let the feelings happen. And you want to let the thoughts come into yourself. But then you want to let them go. So in one ear, out the other ear. It's a good way to think about it. You want to have control of your attention, but not exactly what you see. Because you're pushing nothing away. You're letting everything come, but then you're not holding on, you're not grasping, you're releasing it. You're clinging to nothing. So instead of holding on tight with both hands, going, I can't let you go, you're letting it go. Your thought comes into your mind. Okay. I acknowledge that thought. I'm letting it go. And thought goes out of your mind. For this, you have to step inside yourself and observe. It's also a good time to journal. Um, watch your thoughts coming and going so you can write them down. What thought came, and keep track of your thoughts. It's a good way to be more observant of your thoughts, and if they're more positive or more negative, and how we can make the thoughts more positive than negative. You feel everything. Everything comes in, you're feeling it, but you're not holding on to it, and you're not grasping it, you're letting it go. So it comes in and you let it go. Notice kind of what comes through your senses. What comes through your eyes? What comes through your nose? So what are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you hearing with your ears? What are you tasting? What are you feeling on your skin? You use these senses to see others and how they react and their what's going on with them. You stop to smell the roses. Doesn't mean anything. You are experiencing something, but you're not letting it control you. Describe, put words on the experience. When you're feeling sad, write down you're feeling sad. Write down the exact emotion. I feel hurt. They forgot my birthday. There's two emotions right there. You're hurt because your birthday was forgotten. So you could think the worst. Don't think the worst. It may not be they forgot your birthday. It may be they have a surprise for you. Or maybe they did forget your birthday, but maybe they have a good reason. Or you can say something like, I fell into a panic. I didn't know what to do. All of a sudden, the thought of him came back, rushing back, and it took hold of me, and all I could do was cry. I feel so hurt. I feel sad. I feel betrayed. I feel helpless. Those are all negative thoughts, but they describe how you're feeling. And you want to put these experiences into words. Describe to yourself what is happening. Put a name on your feelings. Call a thought just a thought, a feeling just a feeling. Don't get caught in the content. So your thought is, he's betrayed me, or he doesn't care. That may not be true. But you have to put your thoughts down to help keep you from overrunning yourself. Because it's just a thought. What proof do you have to back up those thoughts? And you have to participate. You have to enter into your experiences. So let yourself get involved in the moment. Letting go of rumination. Become one with your experience. Completely forgetting yourself. So you see that you're like an outsider viewing yourself. You don't want to automatically jump into it and let your emotions rule you, but you don't want to let reason rule you. You want to have a mix of the two. So, and if you are a musician, a thing could be you're playing a musical instrument. You're not just sitting there on your hand doing nothing. So, or you could be someone who loves to read. So you're sitting there reading a book. You're not just sitting. You're not just doing nothing. You're neither willful nor sitting, doing nothing. So you're letting it come as it comes. You have to actively practice this. And it does over time. It will change your thought process. And you can change harmful reactions to situations. So you're not overreacting immediately. You are taking a breath, letting it come, letting it go. You're using both your reasonable mind and your emotional mind to create your wise mind. And in such, you are learning to deal better with things that happen to you. You're also learning to accept yourself and situations as they are, because you can think logically all day long. Well, your logical thinking isn't someone else's logical thinking. Someone may think that logically, them doing one thing proves a point and cuts off everything. To to the next person, doing that one thing may mean something totally different. So you have to learn you and what you can deal with and what you can accept. And you also have to accept yourself. You have to accept that you are emotional at times. You also have to accept that sometimes you're too reasonable. You want to combine the two. You want to be emotional, but you do want to be reasonable. Okay. You're taking hold of your mind. So we just did the what skills. These are the how skills. You're being non-judgmental. You don't evaluate. You see, but you don't evaluate. You're taking a non-judgmental stance. Just facts. Focus on what, not the good or the bad, or the terrible, or the wonderful, or the amazing, or the crazy. The should or the should not. Don't evaluate what's going on. Just take it in. Unglue your opinions from the facts, from the who, what, when, and where. You don't know what someone else is thinking. You're not a mind reader. No one is. So if you unglue yourself from that opinion that this has to be fact, it just has to, because it may not be the facts. Accept each moment. For example, spread a blanket out on the lawn. Okay, you're accepting each moment as it comes. You can spread a blanket onto the lawn and accept both the rain and the sun, each leaf that falls upon it. So, like, best way I guess to think of this is if you're camping, your tent. Well, you may get rain on the tent or you may get sun on the tent. But you may get both, you may get neither. So you have to accept each moment as it comes. Because some moments don't come around twice. But you also have to be reasonable enough and emotional enough to be mature enough to accept it. Acknowledge the helpful, the wholesome, and the wholesome, but don't judge it. You also need to acknowledge the harmful, the unwholesome, but don't judge it. You need to be able to acknowledge what is good for you and acknowledge what may not be good for you. But you're not judging what's not good for you, and you're not judging what's good for you. You're accepting everything as it comes. And one thing you are definitely not doing, when you find yourself judging, don't judge yourself for judging. Everyone judges at one point or the other. But you don't want to make it unglued because of it. So if you find yourself judging yourself, stop. It's not helping anybody. Do something mindfully. Do one thing at a time. When you are eating, you're eating. If you're taking a drink, you're taking a drink. When you are walking, walk. When you are bathing or showering, be showering or bathing. Don't be letting everything else. No, do what you are doing. Like right now, I am talking to you. That's all I am doing. I am not concentrating on what may be going on in another room. I'm not concentrating on the dogs. I'm not concentrating on the TV, phone, none of that. I'm talking to you because, in a way, I'm also talking to me while doing this because you judging. I have a hard time doing this because I find myself judging myself a lot, and it's bad for you. Yes, like they say, do as I say and not as I do. Well, I'm here learning with you, so we're learning together. Um, let's see. Um, when you are working, you're working. When you're in a group or a conversation, focus on your attention on the very moment you are in with the other person. When you are thinking, think. When you are worrying, worry. When you are planning, plan. When you are remembering, remember. Do each thing with all of your attention. Um, if other actions or thoughts or strong feelings distract you, let go of them. Let go of the distraction and go back to what you were doing again and again and again. I find this very helpful if I'm trying to fall asleep and I have 1,000 thoughts racing through my head. I grab a pen and I grab some paper and I write the thoughts down. That way I can say, okay, now it's not like I'm going to forget. It comes and it goes. Remind myself to get a prescription refill for the dog. Okay, that was a thought. I wrote it down. I can go to bed without worrying. Um, Concentrate your mind. If you find yourself doing two things at once, stop and go back and do one thing at a time. So if you find yourself totally frazzled because you have so much, stop. Take a breath. Go back and do one thing at a time. So let's say you're cooking. Best way. If you're using a recipe, following a recipe, you are following directions, each direction one at a time. You're not doing everything and putting it all together. No. You're just one thing at a time. So that's a good way to think about it. If you like cooking or baking or anything like that, you're following step by step. You're not doing 3 steps at once. You're doing one step at a time. And this should help. And effectively. So focus on what works. So some will say that taking a hot shower will help you can relax. That may work for you. Some will say drinking a cup of hot tea. It helps relax them. Never for you. Some may say picking up a book and reading it will work for you. That's one of the few things that does work for me, is I can pick up a book and I can get so involved in the book that it lets me relax and not worry. Stay away. Focus on what works. Do what needs to be done in each situation. Okay? Stay away from fair and unfair, right and wrong, should and should not. Those thoughts should not come into your. Those are things that you do not need to worry about. Play by the rules. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Act as skillfully as you can, meeting the needs of the situation you are in. So you're meeting the needs of the situation you're in. You find yourself in a situation that you're unsure of. What's the first thing you need to do? Stop and evaluate what's going on. Don't overreact. So act as skillfully as you can to meet the needs of the situation you're in. Not the situation you wish you were in. Not the one that not one that is just, not one that is more comfortable, not the one that, you get my point. You need to be reasonable. So you need to use your head and you need to use your heart and go through everything. And it's where it also helps writing things down. If you realize you're having more negative thoughts than positive thoughts, how do we change that? We change the way we think. But you have to become more mindful of how you're thinking in order to change the way you're thinking. Keep an eye on your objective in situations and do what is necessary to achieve them. So, what is your objective for each situation? Keep an eye on that. What do you want each situation to accomplish? Or what do you need from each situation to help you? Let go of vengeance, anger, and righteousness that hurts you and doesn't work. I will be one of the first to tell you, I can get so angry that I want to punish those and I want to lash out. It's not helpful. And I regret it later. Letting go of vengeance, it's hard for people because you feel like they should pay for what they did. Why? In the end, yes, they hurt you, or they didn't hurt you, or they hurt someone you cared for. But here's the thing. That's on them. That's not on you. You deserve better. You are better. Letting go of vengeance and useless anger and righteousness, it's hard. Because you feel like you're in the right and that I deserve it. Let it go. You're hurting yourself. And it doesn't work. What happens if you lash out at somebody? Let's say someone you cared for did something, or someone you cared for was hurt by another. And you lash out at the person that hurt them. That's not making you feel any better. That's certainly not making your friend feel any better. It's hurting because you could have just made the situation 10 times worse. A minor disagreement can go crazy into something that it shouldn't be. Vengeance, useless anger, and righteousness. Sometimes it's better to be the bigger person. Sometimes it's better to let go of it and say, you know what? I'm not going to let you control my life. I'm not going to give you the space up here that controls me. I control me. I have to live with my actions. I have to live with what I've done. And I have to be willing to accept that I can't change everything. I can't apologize for everything. I have to let it go. Because if I don't let go, it'll tear me apart. Because I'll have all the negative thoughts in my head that I don't need. Or I will do something that I don't mean to do. I'll hold on to something too tight. And I should let it go. Or instead of letting go, maybe backing off, giving space. Because that's what it's about. It's about what's best for you. And holding on isn't always best for you. Just for that one, take a breath. Getting into the wise mind. The want skills, so you observe, you describe, you participate. The how skills, you're non-judgmental towards everything. You're mindful of everything. And you do things effectively. So you're using emotional and reasonable becomes wise. Like I said, wise mindfulness is something that takes a while to learn. This is keeping a diary does help. And if you are scared someone's going to find something on paper, put it in your phone. Um, Lock it on a tablet where only you have access to it. But even then, you could be scared someone will find it. I'll tell you right now, getting the thoughts onto paper, getting the thoughts onto a venue where only you have access to will help, because then you can evaluate what's going on through your head. What are you thinking? You can learn to become more mindful. Like, you may not realize that you saying something hurt someone else. But and then you may go, oh no, now I've got to fix it. No, it may not be that you got to fix it. It may just be you got to apologize and say, I'm sorry. And when it comes to relationships, any kind of relationship, whether it be family, friend, a love type relationship, sometimes you can do something and not realize it and push the other person away further and further and further until there is no going back. From personal experience, pushing somebody away isn't what I meant to do. But holding on with both hands really, really tight, what do? When you hold on with both hands really, really tight, you crush it. You can't crush it. You have to find a happy medium where you're not smothering them and you can accept what's going on. Because loving someone isn't smothering them. Loving someone is giving them the freedom to know, hey, I'm here if you need me. And that means friendships too. Hey, I'm here if you need someone to talk to. But if you're ever in danger and you ever are in a crisis that you don't think you could handle, there is a crisis hotline in every single state. Call it. If you think a friend is in crisis, don't let them go through that crisis alone. They may be mad at you for calling someone else in when you realize you can't handle it. But honestly, I'd rather have a friend alive than worried that they're going to do something that they're going to regret. If you know someone is in a crisis, whether it be they're going through a hard time or they are on the other end where they are suicidal, get them help. They may not appreciate it, but getting someone help is something the only thing you can do. Because unless you're qualified to handle certain situations, it's not worth it. Yes, I have my degree in psychology. I still have sometimes hard time knowing when someone needs help. And it's not because I'm not observant. It's because I have a hard time sometimes with myself knowing when I need to ask for help. And sometimes asking for help is the only thing you can do. But if someone is in crisis, call and get them help. I am not giving medical advice. I'm just trying to give you guys some tips and tricks that sometimes help. Mindfulness can also be try meditation or just kind of sit there, letting the thoughts come into your mind like a breath of air and letting the thought go as you release that breath. So a thought comes in, breathe in, thought goes out, breathe out. Be more mindful of everything. It does help. Takes practice and a lot of it. This is not something you can just do overnight. Believe me, I wish you could. I wish you could with everything. Just do it overnight, have it done with. But no. You have to find the happy medium between reasonable mind and emotional mind. Both have their ups and their downs. But when they work in tandem together, your wise mind is a better way of working things out. And don't let anybody change you. Because you are you. You are precious. You are worth it. If someone can't be there for you, maybe they shouldn't. Now, I am not saying go blow your friends off. No. What I'm saying is everyone needs space sometimes. Maybe you need space. Maybe you just need someone to talk to. Maybe you need help. You've got to learn to ask for help. You have to learn to ask for space and to give space. You have to sometimes learn there are boundaries. Crossing them isn't healthy, but you also need to know what the boundaries are. That way you don't cross them. Or if you are starting to cross someone's boundaries, they need to make you aware because you're not a mind reader. But most importantly, be happy with you. Because if you're not happy with you, no one else is going to be happy with you. Don't wish things will happen. You can wish all day and all night. Doesn't mean that wish is going to come true. Work on yourself. Work on making yourself better. Work on taking hold of that mind and making so it's not an emotional wreck or it's not too logical. Work on being a better you because you is all you can be. Well, I hope you have a great night.